What's here. Today we're going to talk about a topic that I am very interested in. We're going to talk about World War One. If you didn't know what World War One is, it's when Germany, for the first time, tried to take over everything after a guy shot the Serb crown. The Serbian prince, which was known, I can't remember. But we're going to talk about one of the most mysterious, legendary, and most famous histories of the First World War. The attack of the dead men. Now, the title maybe make you question why is the title the attack of the dead men? Well, that's a good question, because I'm gonna answer that. So, let's cast our mind back. 1915, in a Russian fort called Osovik. It was set in now Poland, then the Russian Empire, and a railroad actually ran through it. And if you didn't know, Osovik is actually in a marsh or a swamp, if you like to call it that. So it was but the railroad was actually the best thing they could take, because it ran from Germany down to into West Russia. So the Germans, they have settled in. The Russians and Germans have been fighting for quite a long time now because of Osovik. The Germans have tried to attack the fort 2 times before this. 1, they failed. 2, second time, they also failed. But this time, they used another weapon, gas. Now, gas warfare was actually fairly new. The French have actually used tear gas in France, but yeah, and that actually worked. But the Germans have also tried with something that's like tear gas, but it didn't work. Now, this gas was actually made up by 2 chemicals, chlorine and bromine. The chlorine was the thing that carried the bromine, and when the Russians will then inhale the chemical, their lungs would burst into agonizable pain. They would literally choke on their own blood, and every time they took it in, they would slowly crumble and pass away. It's August 7, and the gas batteries let off. A green smog spread over the countryside. Everything the gas touches dies. Trees, leaves, grass turn green and black. Turn yellow and black. Insects die. Some animals in the forest actually also die because of the chemical. And then the Germans hear the Russians scream in agony, because they're literally burning from the inside. And it's just so horrible to think about that so many people just died. When the smog had settled down, the Germans took about to try to take the fortress. About one company went to take the railroad, but while 7,000 walked across the field with now dead plants and animals. Then they hear battle cries, the sound of artillery fire, machine guns firing, and then they see them. About 100 or something Russians start to crawl out of the trenches and out of the fortress and start to charge with their rifles and bayonets, with covering machine gun fire and artillery fire from behind. Scared shitless, the Germans then either try to attack and run away. Some run away, some attack. But nearly every one of them. But the Germans are taken off by so much surprise, because, well, they were supposed to be dead. And the most fearing thing was that they literally walked like zombies. Some crawled, some humped on their legs, and someone just... And I mean, they were covered in bandages, of course, to try to block out all the smog. and they began to bleed out of it. But it looked terrifying from the Germans' eyes, so they actually ran away. Most of the other Russians died while trying to charge again, and that right about covers it. So that was the tale of the attack of the dead men, or the Battle of Osijek, also the Osijek fortress. So, how do I know this story? Well, if you know your music, there is a Swedish metal band that is called Sabaton, and they actually make hard rock and metal music about war, for example, World War One, World War Two, generally war. But that was actually where I heard it on their album Great War, which is actually also another name for World War One. But on that album there's also about Manfred von Richthofen, the Red Baron, you may know him, Lawrence of Arabia, and others. But it's just, they're someone that makes really good music and actually tells a plot. But I'll maybe cover them in another video. But that was the attack of the dead men. Sleep well tonight, children.